Sunday, October 20, the testimony of John the Baptist. As last week's lesson illustrated, the Gospel of John begins with Jesus Christ, the Word, in his eternal existence before creation. But in that same prologue, John the Baptist appears as a witness to Jesus. Some Jews in Jesus' time expected two Messiahs, one priestly and the other royal. John clearly teaches that John the Baptist did not claim to be one of these Messiahs, but rather was a witness to the one true Messiah. Read John 1:19-23. How did John the Baptist explain his ministry and mission? John 1, beginning at verse 19. Now this was John's testimony when the Jewish leaders in Jerusalem sent priests and Levites to ask him who he was. He did not fail to confess, but confessed freely, "I am not the Messiah." They asked him, "Then who are you? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" He answered, "No." Finally they said, "Who are you? Give us an answer to take back to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" John replied in the words of Isaiah the prophet, "I am the voice of one calling in the wilderness, make straight the way for the Lord." The religious leaders sent priests and Levites to ask John who he was. With messianic expectations high in Judea, it was important for John the Baptist to clarify his relationship to those expectations. He was not the light, but he was sent from God to bear witness to the light and to prepare for the coming of the Messiah. We read about this in John chapter 1, verses 6-8. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not that light. He came only as a witness to the light. That's why he answered them as plainly as he could, saying in John 1 verse 20, "I am not the Christ." Also, John baptized with water, but Christ would baptize with the Spirit, as we read in John chapter 1 verse 26. "I baptize with water," John replied, "but among you stands one who you do not know." And then in verse 33, "And I myself did not know him, but the one who sent me to baptize with water told me, the man on whom you see the Spirit come down and remain is the one who will baptize with the Holy Spirit." John was not worthy to loosen Jesus' sandal strap. He said in verse 27, "He is the one who comes after me, the straps of whose sandals I am not worthy to untie." Christ was preferred before John because he was before John, as we read in verse 30. "This is the one I meant when I said, 'A man who comes after me has surpassed me because he was before me.'" Jesus was the Son of God, and John merely pointed to him, as we read in verse 34. "I have seen and I testify that this is God's chosen one." Read Isaiah 40, verses 1-5, and John chapter 1, verse 23. How does John use these verses? Isaiah 40, beginning at verse 1. "Comfort, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and proclaim to her that her hard service has been completed, that her sin has been paid for, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. A voice of one calling, 'In the wilderness prepare the way for the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be raised up, every mountain and hill made low. The rough ground shall become level, the rugged places a plain, and the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all people will see it together. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken." And John 1:23, John replied in the words of Isaiah the prophet, "I am the voice of one calling in the wilderness, make straight the way for the Lord." In the days of rutted and rock-filled roads, servants were sometimes sent ahead of the king to level the surfaces of roadways and to take out sharp turns so as to smooth the way of the king. So, in fulfilment of prophecy, John came in order to prepare the hearts of the people for Jesus. And so to finish today, in what way should we, as Seventh-day Adventists, do the same kind of ministry as did John the Baptist? What are the parallels? And remember, God is always faithful.